Well, I am very pleased to welcome to Tri-City Sports Now. I'm Marky Billson, by the way, your voice of choice for a new generation of Tri-City sports fans. A voice, hopefully, for a new generation of women's basketball fans, at least that's what they hope in Knoxville and really all of East Tennessee, is Holly Warlick, the head coach in her sixth season of coaching the Tennessee Lady Vols. The Lady Vols will host ETSU this Sunday. And, thanks for joining us here. But the first question I'd like to ask here is, in terms of major programs like yourself and mid-majors, there seems to be more of a discrepancy in talent than there might be in the women's game than there might be in the men's game. Why do you think that is?
Well, Marky, I think that we got in the competitive college sports a little later than the guys. But I think the gap is closing. I think for the bigger D1 schools, the gap's closing. For the mid-majors, it's closing within the mid-majors. So it's not unheard of, really, for a mid-major to beat a Power 5 school. Coaches they're probably recruiting a little differently, but they're recruiting people that fit into their system. So if they've got kids that they like and in their system and playing hard, I don't think it's impossible. But I do see the gap closing. But there is right now, I think more kids want to go to higher Division I schools if they can.
Well, this is obviously what you're going to be telling your team when ETSU comes in to keep them, from looking over the opponent and such. But I know last year you came to Johnson City, played at the Mini Dome, a rare game nowadays for the Bucks at the Mini Dome and such. Could we be seeing Tennessee make another visit to the Tri-Cities anytime soon? Is that something that you might want to try to do to increase your brand up here and maybe even help recruiting?
Yes, I'm good friends with Brittany, so I think she does an outstanding job. And, anytime that we can go across the state and play, and look, I promise you this, we will not be looking past ETSU. I know how hard they play. I know what their track record, and have a tremendous amount of respect for what Brittany's done up there. So, I think Scott Carter was involved with us getting us up there, and it was fun, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in the future. I'm sure Scott will give me a call probably after this interview.
Okay. Well, Holly Warlick, who is the head basketball coach of the Tennessee Lady Vols, is here to join us. And I'd just like to point out, you also have, in addition to, you were mentioning when women's college basketball was coming to its own, I think 1978 was the first year it was officially sanctioned by the NCAA. And I think also that year you set the Tennessee record for steals as a player, Holly Warlick. And then you went on to get another degree at Virginia Tech. So you're very familiar with this area of the country. And I know in the past, Tennessee has gotten players, for instance, from Tennessee High. South Green in the 90s was a nationally ranked program and such. Let me ask you this. What about the women's basketball talent in East Tennessee? It would seem to me that with the success historically of the Lady Vols, that's going to breed a lot of interest. But how does the women's basketball talent in Upper East Tennessee, in your opinion, rank with that of other regions of a similar size around the country?
Well, I think you just look at how schools have done in the state tournament. We always have teams in the East Tennessee area that have gone down and have been successful. So the South Greens and those type of schools always have been there, and there's always somebody up there that is good. And just Tennessee basketball, girls basketball in general, they're usually, coaches are interested in them because they have the reputation of being very knowledgeable with the fundamentals, hardworking, that type, gritty. And so I just think that girls basketball in this state is looked upon as being very, very good, very competitive. Sure, certain schools seem to get to the state tournament and maybe better than others, but I think each year there's always teams that that come out of this area and up in your all's area that get there that are, that hold their own, really.
That being said, I got to say you've got 3 players on your team this year from Oregon, including the great center Mercedes Russell. What is it about Oregon that has attracted your attention to land people to Tennessee?
Well, we got a call about Mercedes, and we got on a plane the next day to see her, and obviously loved her. This was when she was young, and so we followed her AAU program. And along with Mercedes was Jordan Reynolds, who just graduated, and Jamie Nard, who's a senior this year. So we saw those kids in the AAU tournaments, and sometimes it's like Mercedes' team really didn't get off the West Coast much. So we had the chance to see all those kids and thought they'd fit into our program. And then Avina Westbrook, the same thing. She was involved with their AAU program, then left and got on a team in California. So it's about exposure, and sometimes it's a little bit of luck. There's so many schools and so many kids, and you hope you can get a chance to see everybody and follow up. And we just followed up on Mercedes, and it kind of landed us some other kids as well.
Now, I know that when you play TSU this Sunday, you mentioned earlier that you've known Brittany Ezel, the head coach of the Lady Bucks, for some time. Tell us how that relationship started, if you could.
Well, she's from the state of Tennessee, and have known Brittany, and then she went to Alabama. She played softball and basketball, and I've known her through the coaching ranks as well. We travel, all the coaches travel quite a bit. We generally go to the same tournaments, and so I've known Brittany since she was a young kid, and then playing, and then throughout coaching. So just a great person, and just has done a tremendous job, really, with her efforts up there, and loves the university up there, loves that area, and it's been a perfect fit, really, for that program and for that athletic program.
Let me ask you, it's been about 9 years since Tennessee has won the national championship. I still think the Lady Vols are probably held to the standard by their fans that say Boston Celtics fans of a previous generation used to hold their team to, in that if they didn't win the NBA championship, they weren't satisfied with the season. And there's still, do you sense that with Tennessee fans as well, that you've got to win the national championship or it's not a successful season?
Of course. I think that's what the standard has been. When we first started this playing, when I was playing for Pat, it took us a long time to get to the national championship, and then not only do that to the Final Four, but to win it. And I think their expectations are there, and I think they should be. This is a storied program, and it's a program with high expectations, and I knew that coming in. I accepted coming in. Our players do, and that's what we strive for every season. And so that's just part of our culture. Like it or not, or if it's right or wrong, but that's how we feel, and that's how we try to approach every day. And we hadn't been there a while. We're grinding it out. We're trying to get kids that will play hard together and have the same focus and want the same results. So I think every day we're trying to work towards that goal. And when we don't show up for practice, we tell them it sets us back. And every day for us, every practice for us has to matter and has to count. So we understand that, and that's what makes I think our fans so special, and that's why we have so much following, is their expectations of the Lady Vols.
I have heard you mentioned practices, and I know your predecessor, Pat Summitt, was known for having very vigorous practices. If I can compare this to, let's say, how the ETSU men play, they have practices that, when I've seen them, have been very cerebral. There's lots of talking and all this. Of course, this is also late in the season. But I wanted to ask you, do you continue to have physical practices? Or tell me about that. As the season goes on, do you have more cerebral and walkthroughs and all this? Or what's the Holly Warlick philosophy of practice?
Well, I understand where the men's program's coming from, because they're probably in their season, and you start off, and we do a lot of fundamentals. We do a lot of up and down. The game is very, very physical, and you wouldn't think sometimes basketball is. It's physical. It's quick. You got to be in great shape. So I think our job as for every head coach is to get you ready for that first game and to get you pretty sound and physically fit for the grind that it takes to play, 29, 30-something games. And when you do get into your season, probably when you saw the men, when we get into our SEC season, we play Thursday night, Sunday night. So it is a grind, and it is taxing on your body. So when you get late into the season, or you get close to you get in your conference tournament, you're doing walkthroughs, you're doing scouting report defense. It may not be to the T your philosophy, but you're guarding something a certain way that a team likes to do, and you think you can be successful with that. So it depends on what time of year and how many kids. If a lot of your kids are injured, you're not going to go as long in practice. You're probably not going to go as hard because you can't afford to have another injury. There's so many factors and variables that come into play that you try to understand how many hours you're practicing a day, how hard you're going, and what you're doing.
Well, I know you have 4 freshmen on this year's team. Everybody's talked about Tennessee having the #1 recruiting class, or at least a very highly ranked recruiting class for this season. And is this the class that you think restores I'll say this, the national championship to Knoxville?
I think this is the class that's going to lead us in the right direction. They were ranked #1 in the country. A lot of pressure on them. I don't think they're coming in here going, oh my God, I feel a lot of pressure. I think these young ladies love to play the game, and we have some upperclassmen that have taken them in. So you can have great talent, but what is your chemistry like on your team? And right now, our upperclassmen have really brought the freshmen along, and our chemistry is outstanding. So when you have great chemistry and talent, you're a special basketball team. So I do feel we are a special basketball team. We're not there yet. We're going to continue to get better. But I love our spirit. I love our grind. I love our attitude. And it's hard. And they acknowledge that it's hard, but they don't back down, and that's what I love about them.
Well, the 4 recruits here are Renia Davis, Anastasia Hayes, who's a guard from Murfreesboro, Riverdale High School, one of 2 native Tennesseans on the Lady Vols this year, Evina Westbrook, and also, and if I mispronounced this name, I do apologize, but I think it's Cassiana Kushkitoa.
Kushkitoa, that is correct.
Okay, well,
or Cassie for short.
I think a lot of people might be as well. And she's from Atlanta, is Kathy here.
Right.
Which player do you think will make the biggest immediate impact?
I think all of them are going to. They're just all different in their different ways. Evina is a vocal leader and very knowledgeable leader for us. Can score. Does a very good run in the basketball team. Anastasia Hayes is one of our quickest players with the ball. Can run the team, but just plays hard all the time. She can be a little spark plug for us. Renia Davis is, I just described her as a younger Shamiqua Holzclaw, can be as great as she wants to be. Can do all sorts of things. She's young and continues to learn, but daggone, she's going to be good. And Cassie's a big power post player who wants to play inside. Not too many people these days want to play inside and play on the block, and Cassie wants to do that. So I think they're all 4 will contribute in so many different ways. I wouldn't say this one more than others. It's going to depend on the situation and when we need them in the game. But they've all stepped up. Our exhibition game, they all did different things, and I'm excited for the success of these 4 freshmen.
Well, in addition to playing ETSU out of conference, and I mean what a conference it is with South Carolina and Mississippi State, but you also are playing some traditional women's basketball powerhouses like Texas, Stanford, and Notre Dame this year. But there's no Connecticut. What's it going to take to get the Connecticut series to come back?
Well, I mean, I think we've toyed around with it, but I don't know if it fits in either one of our schedules. So, we've got a pretty tough schedule. If we can work it out to play Connecticut, that's great. If we can't, that's okay too. We just our conference is just grueling, and then we've added, we play Notre Dame in the middle of our conference, and then we play Stanford and Texas. So we've got a pretty tough schedule, always have, and always will continue to have that.
What do you respect about ETSU? I mean, when you prepare for this game, what is your concern about the Buccaneers?
I think they play hard, and when you have a team that plays hard, I think anything can happen. I think they rebound hard. They are disciplined. They're going to run things that make you have to think. They'll run multiple actions, and so you respect how they play, how hard they play, and you never overlook an opponent. So that's what we're gonna do on Sunday. We're not going to overlook ETSU. I can promise you that.
Is there a specific player that impresses you?
Well, I just think all of them are. I think they've got some kids that sat out last year that are going to be playing. They graduated a pretty good guard, so. I think they're all going to be pretty tough, and we'll just have to sit back and see who hurts us and see how we're going to adjust. Well,
I want to thank you very much. I know the challenges of being the Tennessee basketball coach of the Lady Vols are tremendous. I would ask, I've got a little bit of time here, what are your thoughts on instituting the Lady Vols name throughout the women's athletic program?
Yeah, I was... I wished it would never have gone away, but it's always been a trademark for us. It's a brand, and I don't care. Whenever you say anything about any sport at the University of Tennessee, you just immediately say Lady Vols. So I'm happy for the others. We still have it, but I'm happy for the others with the opportunity if they want to use it. The Power T is still the university symbol and the athletic department kind of symbol because it just brings us all together. I get that too, but I think it's really awesome now that we can all have the opportunity to be considered Lady Vols.
Well, there you go. It's nice to know that the program, the women's basketball program, I think does have a trickle-down effect to, other good women's programs, such as, say, softball throughout UT. And I think you touched upon that as well here. Again, hey, thanks for joining us here on Tri-City Sports Now. It's always for ETSU, and really I think the state great when the two state schools, ETSU and Tennessee, play together. And I'm going to remember, I'm going to hold you. You mentioned Scott Carter and all that. The State University of Tennessee, Butch Pearl kind of thought this, but I do too, should play throughout the state and not just an occasional football game at the racetrack and such. So anyway, thank you very much for joining us here on Tri-City Sports Now. Holly Warlick.